2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. Tyler and Brannon shoot straight about the process of healing. Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin. Dude, I can't wait to shoot straight with you.
That's something you do quite often anyway, man.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Am I too intense with it?
No, I don't think so. I think you're probably a little bit more of a straight shooter than I am.
You think? Oh, well, I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know. I learned that over time, I would say. Like, I used to and then I started doing it, and I was like, I kind of like that. It's interesting. You got to kind of gauge what people can hear, and know when to kind of reflect back in certain ways or not. So that kind of sums up what we do every day, right?
Yeah, it's always a balancing act of how hard can you push and how much trust do you have. Yeah. And it's like this weird dance of the more trust you have, the more you can push. And if you don't have any trust, it's hard to push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to say, and we won't say too much, but, one of your daughters brought a guy to dinner last night. And I gotta say, from the little bit I talked to him, I approve. So,
okay, well, thanks, man. I'll pass that along because she probably doesn't listen to this. So,
yeah. He seemed like a great dude. So,
yeah, I think he's a nice kid. We've shot 1 for 1 on the first daughter, and the second one seems to be pairing up with some good kids.
Go. We'll see. Yeah, but he's tall, so there's some height there.
Yeah, a lot of height there.
Yeah.
So,
well, should we shoot straight?
Yeah, let's get into it a little bit, Brannon. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. Sometimes people will ask us, what does it take to actually heal, or what does the process look like, or what should the structure look like? And so I wanted to talk today with you, Brannon, maybe outline a couple of things that are kind of general things across treatment, and then let's talk specifically about what it takes to heal with why people listen to us, which is usually around some level of, betrayal or compulsive behavior or addiction or some trauma and shame. But I think these levels of care that we're going to talk about will apply, and we'll talk about why we approach things the way that we do as a result.
Yeah, I think to understand a big part of our job is, and what we've done over the years is assessment. And, like any professional helping somebody, you first need to stop and see like, okay, what's going on. And then from there, we move forward with a treatment plan. And so we look at, okay, these factors will, be really good for your healing, for your moving forward. And I think with mental health stuff, Tyler, it seems a little more like confusing and out there, and like, whereas other processes of healing, it's like, well, you broke your leg, so we're gonna, do this. You're gonna have a cast for so long. You're gonna do some physical therapy, and you'll get better. The same thing applies with mental health stuff, and even with relationships. It's just that a lot of times people think that they can just kind of like get over it or stop it or knock it off, and it just gets better. And that's just not the case. That's not how it works.
That's right. Right. That's right. And sometimes there's different levels of care that you need based off of what your current situation is. Right. Right. And that's why I think that's what I wanted to just maybe start, Brannon, by going over what kind of some of the traditional levels of care are, and then talk a little bit about, maybe our listeners would even start to kind of do their own self-assessment of like, oh, where am I at and what would I need if I was actually really serious about wanting to heal wherever I'm at right now.
Yeah. And this kind of stems from, we're not just making this stuff up. So this stems from ASAM dimension assessment, where you kind of look at certain factors and you assess, and you as you do that assessment, it starts to become pretty clear, like somebody needs a higher level of care or a lower level of care according to what those dimensions show. And
right.
So that's kind of, at least Tyler, that's kind of how I was trained. And that was for substance abuse. We would use those.
So ASAM stands for the American Society of Addiction Medicine. So this is like the standards of care that a professional is supposed to be assessing and saying, I think you need to be at this level or that level based off of the information you just gave me.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to dive into this, but I would just say before we do, I think there is a drastic, like, how do I put this? There's a drastic underestimation of what people need when they're struggling with things like sex addiction. And what they think, we just had a conversation. What they think is, well, I need to go to a couples counselor once a week. And it's like, okay, but more is needed. More is needed than that. And if we were to look at the dimensions and do the assessments, we would say, okay, like here's what the treatment plan would really look like according to what you're dealing with, right?
Right, exactly. So let's go through the levels, and then we'll kind of apply it to what's maybe some common things we see in our work with the couples and individuals that we work with.
Yeah.
So it goes by levels of care, and the first level of care is called a 0.5 level of care. And the 0.5 level of care is like it's like a need for education or prevention. So the DARE program would be like a level 0.5 level of care. That would be an example of that, where you go to a class, get some education. Maybe you've got your first DUI and they send you to a class about like the risks of driving while intoxicated. That would be a 0.5 level of care.
Yeah, it's like if you get a ticket and you go to traffic school. It's like, okay, I got to go to this school, and we call it 0.5, but we call it standard outpatient treatment, where it's basic. You got to check the box, get some education, and that's
it's a class. It's more of an educational class than it is even treatment.
A lot of times it's looked at as like a little slap on the hand, as like a consequence for the behavior that you did. So when we're assessing for that, we're looking at, okay, like frequency, duration, other factors. And when we're seeing that this was a one-time event, this person made a mistake, We don't want this to turn into a pattern. It's not a pattern yet. They have a lot of support system around them. They still have a lot of good recovery capital or life capital going on. They have a good job. They got all this stuff going on, and they need a little tune up here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, as we go through these too, Brannon, that the professional is supposed to look and assess and assign the level of care at the lowest level possible based off of the criteria, with an understanding that if that level doesn't work, then you systematically work up in levels.
All right.
Right. So level 1, so it goes from 0.5 to level 1, and level 1 treatment is outpatient treatment. That's where most people in the realm of getting help go. They go, hey, I got a problem. We just had this thing blow up in our life, or I've got this kind of consistent pattern that is actually a pattern that I need to really take a look at. I'm not getting better on my own. Then they choose to go to a level 1 kind of a treatment. And that's where they'll go to like a single group or a single session a week with a therapist, and they'll do their like one-on-one or couples counseling. And that's just kind of a level 1, and that's called outpatient treatment. And it's just level 1. So kind of regular. It's what most people choose to start with when they want to start getting help.
Yeah.
Right. And that takes anywhere like an hour, a couple hours a week is what you're going to probably be spending if you're in level 1 treatment.
That's fairly typical. And that's like somebody, maybe they're doing a group and maybe they're doing some individual level 1 type. Tyler, one thing I want to say as we go on here, Tyler and I aren't talking about this just to kind of like talk shop on like how we've learned how to do this, or the goal here is for you to stop and take inventory of yourself and ask yourself the question, like, is the care that I'm getting sufficient for healing? Is it helpful? And when we talk about shooting straight, what we mean by that is, like, when I do these assessments, Tyler, sometimes people would beg me to not be at a certain level. Like they did not want to be at a certain, because it meant that it required them, and a lot of times by law, back when I was doing this, to spend more time and energy on themselves and on their recovery. But the reality is sometimes that is what is needed. That we wish that we could say that do a standard outpatient, do a level 0.5, or, and then everything will get better. And the fact of the matter is that won't work a lot of the times.
Right. And that's where you then would bump up in level of care. So most people start at what's this level 1, which is go to weekly therapy, set your goals, set your intentions, whatever that's going to be. And then if you are finding success at level 1, then you continue at level 1, and then you taper off, and then you're out. If you are actually having continued problems with the very thing you came in with, then you would bump up to the next level.
Tyler, before we move on, I got to say that this level 1 is where most like therapy practices push people into. It's kind of just somehow the way that we've been socialized to think of, like, well, I'll go to a 50-minute or 60-minute therapy session once a week, and like that's therapy. I'm now in therapy and I'm doing my thing, right? And as much as like I love therapy and all that, like, just because that's how it's always been done doesn't mean that that's what's effective. 150-minute session a week. Maybe we need to think outside the box just a little bit about the way that you structure the work that you're doing, where you can get more touch points and different touch points along the way that will support your recovery.
That's right.
Right? And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's perfect, Brannon. That's actually where 2.1 treatment goes. And 2.1 is called intensive outpatient treatment. Intensive outpatient treatment basically requires that one of the criteria for that is that you need to be up over 10 hours per week of treatment related activities in order for it to be called a 2.1. So that would include things like one-on-ones, group work, going to 12-step meetings, going to like other structured kinds of appointments. But what you're doing in 2.1 is you're actually saying, I've got a problem and that problem hasn't been able to be managed at a level 1. So I need more structure. I need more support. I need more protection and guidance around me until I can get my feet planted. And then you'd start to taper back down to a level 1.
Yes.
But that's what level 2.1 is. And 2.1, people will go typically they go anywhere from 1 to 3 months at a level 2.1 before they taper back down to a level 1.
A lot of times, somebody needs a 2.1 and, but between 1.0 and 2.1, that's the threshold of what they can afford.
Yeah, it's a big gap.
That's what sucks is it gets expensive at this point. And 2.1, it's kind of different across the board. Like I could be in a 2.1 and be in day treatment where I'm spending, 9 to 4 every day, 5 days a week in a day treatment program. That's a 2.1. Versus like, okay, I'm going to evening outpatient 4 nights a week, but I'm also going to 12-step in these type of things. But yeah, it can get really expensive. And so when I say earlier, Tyler, that there's a deficiency between what somebody wants to do to get better and what somebody needs to do to get better, a lot of times they're in this 1.0 level and they're not getting enough. But they're also like, I can't dedicate that much time and energy and effort and money and resources of my life into this 2.1.
That gap is pretty stark sometimes. You're going from a weekly session with a therapist is probably going to range right now, depending on where you live in the country, anywhere from $150 to $300 per session. Right. So at the high end, once a week, you're paying, say, $1,200 a month. At the low end, you're paying $500 a month. Mm-hmm. But then you bump over to an intensive outpatient, and most of those you're going to be anywhere all over the map, but probably somewhere between, $6,000-$7,000 to $20,000 a month in treatment.
And there's not very many like comprehensive 2.1 outpatient programs for sex addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just not that many resources there.
Yeah. I know that like in my own work, a lot of times when I have a client who's kind of right in that gap of like, okay, they're coming here, they want to keep coming. Maybe they're doing one-on-one and group, but they need a little bit more structure. Then we try to build in a 2.1 and say,
yeah, you kind of construct
you got to go to so many 12-step meetings a week and go to your church congregation once a week and make sure you talk to a sponsor once a week. And we try to get them up to that structure level, but it's hard to do that.
Yes.
But it's possible to try to do that if people need that. And a lot of times people really do need the support and the structure, even if they don't really want it.
Right.
So the next level up goes from 2.1 up to the next level, which is called inpatient or residential treatment.
I forget the number too, Tyler. I think it's like, I think it's what it is.
Oh, well, I think there's a 2.5 and then there's a 3.1.
Okay. I don't know why. We don't know why these numbers. But
yeah, I don't know either. But basically, you go to, it's like a voluntary inpatient, and you basically choose to live there. You stay there. Usually, those are 30 to 60 days, sometimes 90-day programs. Very like you're immersed in them. And then the last one is the highest level, is that you're basically medically managed intensive patient care, and you're not allowed to leave.
Yeah, it's like lockdown.
Yeah. So those are kind of the levels of care, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like the residential level where you're moving in the place, can be really effective in some ways because you're getting out of an environment and just purely focusing. But at the same time, again, really expensive, and you put your entire life on hold. And sometimes that's what needs to happen.
And then after an inpatient, typically it's recommended that you step down systematically levels of care. So you'd be stepping out of inpatient back into a 2.1, and then kind of like stepping down a staircase. So you kind of let go of that structure a little bit at a time as you build in the new way of living and the new habits and the new forms of connection and everything else that goes with recovery.
Yeah. So Tyler, let's take I just want to bounce this off of you. Let's take like a pretty common scenario. So just think of like our average guest on the podcast, right? So, and let's say it's a couple, and the couple's coming in, there's been some infidelity, that, they want to make it work, but there's like resentment and confusion and not knowing how to move forward. There's been compulsive behaviors and acting out for years and years, far before the marriage even started. Secrecy, just little things that, maybe like other cross addictions and things, whether it's the phone or the whatever. Okay. So like, we're just talking with this couple, and they're like, hey, yeah, some issues have come up and we need to address this. What do you do with that? Like, what would they need? What level would they need?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I mean, in my head, oftentimes on kind of first or second appointment, when we get that classic kind of scenario, that's probably what you and I both get the most, Brannon. Mm-hmm. I think in my head, I think to myself, you would really benefit from a level 2.1 kind of structure to kind of help with the crisis that you're in right now, plus the establishment of the patterns. And what we typically do, because we haven't been a 2.1, is we say, what you really benefit from is each of you doing your own individual work, maybe with a therapist, and for sure, you should consider doing a group. And I'm a big believer in groups. Anyway, Brannon, the ASAM actually, the preferred form of treatment for overcoming addictions is actually group treatment. Yeah. Yes. Because it's so effective, and because it helps so much, because you get a therapist, you get a community, you get that support, you get the collective energy, and you get the consistency. And it's usually a lot more cost effective for people too. So I'm a big fan of that. Like if I could do only groups all day, every day, I would.
Right.
So usually what I do is try to piece together, okay, well, we're not quite to a level 2.1, but we're going to make sure you might go to a 12-step meeting, you're going to come to your group, and then you'll probably work with a therapist, and that will be sort of the structure that we can start with. And then if the pattern continues where there's continued, like, say continued relapse or something, then we would start trying to add in even more structure.
Yes. That's great. And a lot of times people will hear that and be shocked a little bit of like, wow, that's a lot. That's hard. And so, but I only want to do a 1.0. Like I only have the money for this. I only have the time for that. I only have the whatever, right?
And you start at a 1.0 with the understanding that if you can be successful at a 1.0, great. But if not, eventually you're going to need to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, don't listen to my professional assessment. Go figure this out for yourself, but come back when you're ready, because it might be time to do a bit more in your recovery.
Just to get that structure and support.
Yeah. So I'll just to be honest, Tyler, I've for years pieced together higher levels of care for people, and trying to figure out how to do it really as affordable as possible. A client's working with me and it's like, okay, 12 steps great because it's another touch point that's free, and it provides community, it provides support, and it provides some accountability. Yeah. But it's not therapy group. It's not that. As much as I love the 12 steps and all those things, it's not therapy. And so it's a good one to add in. And if someone I'm working with is going 12-step, they're engaged in their group, they're doing some individual work, and they're also consuming some good resources like podcasts and books and things like that, they typically start to make some pretty good progress.
Right. And you've helped them piece that together in a way that works for them.
Yeah, we've pieced it together and given as many resources as possible. And we're not just talking, by the way, about the person struggling with addiction. It's also for the person who's been
betrayed
hurt or
spouse.
betrayed. And a lot of times they look at this and they're like, well, like, really, I got to do all this stuff too? And how does 12 steps make sense for me, or a therapy group? But the reality is they need the resources too, and they need the healing as well. And so depending on where they're at in their process of healing, their level of care will shift up and down similarly, right?
Right. Yeah, and that's been one of the biggest frustrations for both you and I over the years that we've done this, is that gap between level 1 and level 2 has been kind of hard to feel sometimes. And sometimes it's like you don't need a full level 2, but you definitely need more than just this level 1 meeting. And that's been a frustration of ours, I think, Brandon. That's one reason why we've kind of have been moving towards this Reclaim Your Heart thing, and trying to establish what we have over there so that people can get right at the exact level that they need.
Yeah, and to understand this, I think we need to explain a little bit. We have, luckily, with technology and just with the way things are now, there's so many ways to do things. And so we've created this system of recovery where you can somewhat tailor make how much you want to do. And anything from attending webinars to asking questions in Q&As to getting support and connection to therapists and to individuals, mentors. You can go there and you can tailor make a system for your recovery.
Yeah, so we basically took it and said we can start with the level 0.5, and people listening to the podcast right now could be similar to like what a 0.5 is. It's like, okay, I came, got some information, I left. Mm-hmm. If you go to reclaimyourheart.org, it can start with a level 0.5 with just like a free community, come listen to the podcast, maybe join a few conversations, all the way up to anyone who really needs it, a level 2.1 kind of level of care. And the way that I'll just kind of explain how it gets built. So you come for the free community, and then there's 3 different tiers you can join if you feel like you want more structure. And the first tier is the community, plus you get 3 Q&As and a mindfulness practice every week, and the course, the Healing Journey
content,
course.
which is a lot. That's actually a bit more than a level 0.5, a standard. I mean, that's a lot of stuff, but there's a thing with that one. It's self-directed. Right.
Yeah. You have to be the self-starter that's going to follow through on the challenges and assignments, that's going to build your own team, that's going to kind of build
on your own
the other parts of the structure you need. But that's like the first kind of tier, is come work the process, work the healing journey, which absolutely works if you work it, and then take advantage of the few calls that we have and the other resources that are there at that level for a little bit of extra support and structure.
And some people, that's all they'll need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say probably the most common level of structure, and the reason we built it that way is that the second level of structure that we built on Reclaim Your Heart is you get the course, all those calls, and a group led by a professional every single week for a year. And so you're there getting your team, your core group of other people, your therapist, and some accountability to push through some of the difficulties of the programming. Plus you get those extra calls if you want to attend those. So at that point, you're up to close to, between all the coursework and the calls and the therapy session, you're up to like a 10 plus hours per week if you want it at all.
Right.
Right. But most people probably won't do all 10, but they'll probably do, 5 to 7 most likely. But
that's substantial. And it's like, if you're struggling with something, you can hop on and get a little, tweak this or help with that. It's awesome. So we sound like salesmen, Tyler.
Well, no, it's actually something that I just really believe in. The reason we created it the way we did is because we see what works.
Yes.
The last kind of tier of this, for the people who just are like, I need it all, is like you basically come and you get everything that we just mentioned. You get the free platform, the 3 calls, plus the mindfulness practice, plus your group with the therapist, plus another group led by Brannon and I together. And you also get a pass to the yearly retreat we do for the men or the women, depending on whether you're a man or a woman.
That's the full enchilada right there.
And then you get 36 one-on-ones for the year as well to go with it. So that's like, you're looking at 10 to 15 or 16 hours per week if you wanted to take advantage of all of that.
With some individual, like very like specific connected help from professionals who are watching closely what's going on with you. And Tyler, the thing about it is I think of this this middle tier, and that's the one where you do group. The price point on that is like less than doing one-on-one therapy every week, right?
Right. I think that's what's so cool about what we've done with Reclaim Your Heart. And I think this is important to us is if you were to go and look at the levels of care and the price you'd pay at each level of care, we've been able to kind of take those same different structured levels of care and decrease the price significantly for whatever level you're going to land at.
Yeah. Even the big one, I think that it can be sticker shock a little bit, like, whoa, that's a lot. But in comparison to going into a really high standard of care, it's not, it actually makes a lot of sense.
It's a fraction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's so cool about this. And that's why I think we're so excited is we're trying to crack the code of filling the gaps between the levels of care. And I think that we've done it, Brannon, and I'm really excited about it. And I think what we've created with the healing journey plus the community that's there is it's a phenomenal resource.
Yeah.
And it allows people to get exactly what they need at the level that they need rather than trying to just jump from stage to stage.
Yep. And, you know, we're not telling you the prices right now, and we're more than happy to divulge that. But what we want to be able to do is sit down and talk with you first and understand your situation. And then we're happy to tell you how much this stuff costs. And the way you do that is you go to reclaimyourheart.org or .com, either one,
.org.
Right? .org, reclaimyourheart.org, and you click on book a discovery call. And you can book with several different people, Tyler and I included right now. We're not going to do discovery calls forever. So if you want a discovery call with us right now, now's your shot, where we can sit down with you and really get in the weeds with what's going on and what do you need. And then we'll tell you how much it costs. But we'd love to see you. We'd love to meet with you.
Yeah. And Brannon, we mentioned this, I think it's actually running on an ad right now on all of the episodes, but if you're listening to this right now, we're even doing another special for my birthday. Happy birthday.
He just wants to mention his birthday.
Yeah. I've never been much of a birthday guy, but I would rather give than receive on my birthday. And so we're doing a 25% off any of the levels of care if they're purchased before my birthday, which happens to be April 25th.
Yeah. And that's a big chunk of change if you're booking the higher level there. So it's worth getting in before April 25th. You're running out of time to do that by the time this episode releases. So hopefully it releases before your birthday, Tyler.
Yeah, it will. And people are listening now. I do want to say, just kind of with what we're talking about here, Brannon, like when you look at success, and I don't know, like you can chime in on this if you want, but when you look at success with people in the past, there's several different kind of like markers, but one marker that always stands out, and this is the interesting thing, is that when you meet somebody who says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get better, they get better. And it doesn't even matter what level of care they end up at. It's the willingness to do whatever it takes to get better that is just as important as whatever the doing was.
Yep.
It's the heart of willingness, and that's what you're really looking for and trying to cultivate.
The reality, Tyler, is if I cheated on my wife, the reality is there's all kinds of different circumstances that lead to something like that. All kinds of different things. It would be awesome and important and good for me if I joined a weekly therapy group that help me be honest, that help me live authentically, help me embrace my healthy masculinity, help me love myself and forgive myself, trust myself, and help me work through my deepest trauma, help me heal from my deepest trauma. That is so good for me. Why in the world would I not do that?
It's usually shame that's holding it back.
Right. It's usually shame, and it's also like poor education about what you need to heal. It's all go to therapy and that's all I need, because that's all we think. Well, I'm going to go to group. I'm going to go get some education. You know what? I'm going to spend 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I just cheated on my wife and my marriage is in the balance and I got to figure myself out because I hate myself right now. That's not a lot. It's not a lot. I'll shoot straight with you right now. Invest 4 or 5 freaking hours to save your marriage or to heal so deeply that you have peace within yourself. It's not a lot. People will spend far more fixing their car than they will fixing themselves. Right?
Amen. And I would say, Brannon, to add to that, if my life is in the spot where we're talking about 4 or 5 freaking hours, as you would say, it isn't actually a lot, but it's also needs to be the right kind of 4 or 5 hours.
Effective. It
needs to include certain principles, which includes the cultivation of humility, accountability, empathy, structure and support, push for change, stepping into courageous things that you've been running from, and then being loved exactly as you are.
Yep.
And if you're spending your time in those arenas, that 5 to 6 to 10 hours a week is going to be time well spent.
Yeah.
In terms of healing your own heart, going through your own process, and being able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and like what you see, because you can go to bed on a clear conscience.
Yep. Tyler, I'm not saying this stuff, and we're not saying this stuff just to fill up our practices and our groups. The reality is if you don't need this, I wouldn't recommend it to you. I really wouldn't. If I did an assessment and I understood what's going on, like whatever's best for you. But I think it's important for people to know that the resources are there if you need them, that it is available, and it might be a stretch a little bit, time-wise, money-wise, but if you can make that stretch and do this, it can change everything for you.
It can change everything. And I'm living proof of that, Brannon, from the depths of hell to a life that feels really exciting and vibrant and colorful, and the principles are all there. They just need to be worked.
Absolutely. Come join us, you guys. We'd love to see you at reclaimyourheart.org.
Brandon's got like a brain fart on that.
Reclaimyourheart.org. Now people will remember it. See?
Yeah.
But yeah, come join us. You can get in our the free community there first, kind of check some things out, and just go from there. And come book a discovery call with us.
Yeah, you guys, thank you for being with us. We love having you be a part of our community here already. Hopefully what you get when you come is exactly what you need. And until next time, keep on keeping on.